Greetings, Divine Mirrors. Sacred awakening, remembering gods and goddesses, one and all. Thank you for showing up. Welcome to this week's episode of Voices of the Global Awakening, Tuesdays with Tess, our 19th consecutive week in a row. This is a community enrichment offering, a weekly talk, music, variety, pilot program. I'm not sure how long I can get away with calling it that, but I'm still working out all sorts of different bugs and experimenting with different ways of doing this, still seeking the optimal one that will do everything technically and reach the most people and do the most good. And this week's episode is Experiencing Grace, which is a practice that I have been engaged in for some time now, and I really am passionate about speaking about it. And so I really want to dive in there, and what I would request is, if you're here watching, I absolutely invite you to indicate your interest in coming along and having an interactive dialogue. And also, if you would be so kind as to share this live on your pages and or tag some people, pop it into some groups so that we can spread the vibe that we are cultivating here in this portal. So my contention is that, as may be cliche, you may have heard already, that we are divine beings having a human experience. And in that human experience, we have been told many things about what life is, that whether they were deliberately intended to misguide us, or whether it is simply part of the game of experiencing ourselves in these forms, that we have, for the most part, gotten caught up in what I would describe as mundane reality versus mystical reality. And when I say that, I mean that we, with our busyness and our responsibilities and our obligations, we're carrying a certain weight around, and that weight inhibits us from experiencing the wonder and the magic and the miracle that our existence actually is. And I would call that awareness grace. The fact that we exist, the fact that this entire dimension exists, the fact that we have so many varieties of species of sentient beings and flora and fauna and I mean, anything and everything that you can think of, the variety is so vast that one must, well, not must, but I would suggest that one must wonder about the source of all of this, and where do we come from, and how is it that we get to be here, and what is the purpose of our beingness. And in my perspective of things, it really, really behooves us to slow down, because when we are caught up in the movement of this frenetic pace of society that we have agreed to participate in, we are so busy in our busyness, in our businesses and our doingness, that we really, we overlook the sacred wonder of our own existence. And if we could maintain an awareness of that as we move through our experiences, I assert that we would likely feel a lot more grateful, a lot more privileged, a lot more at peace and trusting and thrilled, really, for the blessing of getting to be here in these bodies, in these forms, with these personalities, with these experiences that just go on and on and on and on and on. And if we could allow ourselves to relax into it and not feel like the burden of responsibility is on our shoulders to push things forward into the next moment and the next, we might experience a lot more of that sense of wonder. And so my invitation is to see if it's possible for you to give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to slow down. Pay attention to your inhalations and your exhalations and consciously choose to slow them down so that you can slow down the pace of your pulse and your heart rate, and you can feel more relaxed. And in that more relaxed state, you may start to notice a heightened sensitivity. So in that heightened sensitivity, there's nothing to take for granted, like everything that we get to touch, everything that we get to taste, everything that we get to smell, everything that we get to hear, everything that we get to see with our sacred eyes is such a blessing and such a privilege. And when we are in touch with this level of awareness, we start to not take things so much for granted. And when we're not taking things for granted, we're in a much more appreciative and receptive and trusting state. So without medications and without medicines, we have the power within ourselves to slow ourselves down so that we can actually get in touch with the sense of awe and wonder of the miraculousness of all that is, an infinite variety of everything for us to put our attention on and wonder about. And that is how we get to be as children again and enter the kingdom of heaven as it is suggested in the Bible. And it really is a choice to decide to turn our attention to experiencing grace, to experiencing the grace of our own being and the grace of all that is around us. And here in this space of grace, functioning at the pace of grace, as I like to describe it. Hello, Goddess Ana Luisa, welcome. We can experience the peace that surpasseth all understanding. because this peace exists as the abiding field in which we live. And when we allow ourselves to drop into it and release our hold on the agendas that keep us like hamsters in the wheel, and we're rushing and we're stressing and we're worrying and we're doubting, there is no peace there. And all of that is a story that is sprung from our human buy-in, this buy-in to this human story that we are living. But nobody told us that we can move through this experience at a pace that feels nourishing and honoring, as opposed to degrading to ourselves and punishing as we push ourselves and feel late and feel behind and feel like we have to catch up and believe in things like aging and decline, instead of finding our power in the wholeness, the perfection of the eternal present moment that just keeps expanding and expanding, so that we become the masters of that tool that we have contrived that we call time, as opposed to allowing this tool to become the master of us. Welcome, Leah. So I'm putting it out there as an opportunity and an invitation to try on choosing to experience grace. Grace as the natural state of your being. When you know and you trust that you are intrinsically connected to all that is. You are not some free radical alien that has been dumped here and you have to fend for yourself and you have to figure it out. You are part of this ecosystem, and just like a fish can't see water, and so it cannot see the atmosphere that is supporting it and nourishing it and sustaining it, so too we cannot see the atmosphere that is supporting and sustaining and nourishing us, and yet we are within a field that is holding us, all of us, and we take it for granted and we feel disconnected from it, and so we often exist in a state of panic and lack and limitation when, we can just float. We can just be carried. Sometimes it's hard to remember this. Well, that's why I'm here to remind to you and me. I'm reminding myself when I say this as well. And it was interesting. The other day, this contest opportunity came across my news feed, and it was to do a cover of Cher's song "Believe," and I'm a huge Cher fan, and so it kind of tickled me to consider auditioning, but it's not actually an easy song to sing. Like for my voice, it's not my favorite song. I kind of the words don't flow for me, but I put on the music video with lyrics so that I could really see what she was saying. And she says, "Do you believe in life after love?" And I really decided to think about this, and certainly the experience, the perceived experience of losing love feels like there is nothing to live for. And she says, I really don't think I'm strong enough. That's a lyric. And I see everything as an opportunity to scan myself for where there may be like unconscious programming that is undermining me and causing me pain. And so it was an opportunity to claim being strong enough. I am strong enough. And the question, is there life after love, caused me to take it to the meta level where all there is love, and that the relationships are the attachment to form. And I believe that one of our lessons here in these embodiments is to transcend the placebo. Like everything in form is something that we get to experience that is a pleasure, but really the only thing that is nourishing us and sustaining us is that source intelligence that animated us and breathed life into us, and it causes us to remain here. And so if a love goes out of our life, whether it is a partner or a parent or a pet, it's like the opportunity, and this is a really like high stakes game, high level, because if we want to free ourselves from suffering, it's really important to get that this is a miraculous world of illusion, and there is nothing in this physical world that we actually need. We can love it all lightly and let it go, because the thing that all the placebos are standing in for, be they relationship, be they food, be they money, are really that source energy that is wanting us to notice it, so that we can experience a sustained state of grace regardless of the comings and goings in our experience. So I'm really like writing things down, and I'm looking at the lyrics of these songs, and so it was is there life after love? Well, yes and no, because there is no not love. Love is the grace. Love is what is sustaining us. Love is what is always there. And so then the next thought I had, utilizing this a fish can't see water analogy, is that I am swimming in a sea of love. So there is no losing love, because love is the field in which I exist, and love is the molecules that make up my being. So there is only love in love, or grace in grace, or God in God manifest as form in a endless kaleidoscope of shifting shapes and states and connections. And for me, there is so much liberation there. And so then the next thought I had was, all there is for me to do is delighting, is to be delighted by all that is, and to be delightful. And so delighting is like what I am kind of connecting to right now as the highest purpose for getting to be here, to delight in the experience of all that is, and to delight in the getting to be here, and to be a source of light for others. What are some of the comments here? Oh, Persita's joined us. Welcome. Ana Luisa, I understand this. However, I'm human living a human life, and I love sustains my human form. I don't know what word you were trying to say there. We cannot be only spiritual. Well, it is the getting to be here that is delightful. That is the source of our delight, that we are in this experience. And as I said at the beginning, I don't know if you were here, is that we get to touch, we get to taste, we get to smell, we get to see, we get to hear. There's so many things that we get to do, that we get to celebrate. And the good purpose behind the depth of inquiry that I take myself through earthy love. However, I'm human, and an earthly love sustains my human form. I think that's what you mean. Yes, and the point is to be able to transcend shifts, because what we can count on here in this physical experience is change. And so, like in our humanness, we have created a lot of agreements, not understanding the power of the word, not understanding that we are that thoughts are things, and that they are creative, and that we are casting spells and passing sentences upon ourselves and upon one another with our choice of words. And so, like the marriage vow of "till death do us part," I consider to be a black magic spell, because it suggests that's the only honorable way for us to shift into another focus, is if one or the other or both of us drop our physical forms. And I think that if one still wants to go through with some sort of a commitment ceremony, that the more awake, aware, honoring thing would be to commit till life do us part, to understand that we are evolving beings and we don't have a crystal ball. They say God made the world round so we wouldn't see too far down the road. You can substitute the word God if that triggers you. Source intelligence, great spirit, all that is, whatever. But the point is that it's like, if we are alchemically drawn to another soul and feel inclined to walk a path together, to wake up every day, potentially year in and year out, maybe decade in and decade out, going, wow, the door is open, there is nothing binding me here, but my heart keeps choosing to stay here with you. To me, that I would describe that as organic monogamy, and that's the most beautiful way of partnering with people. But if life is wanting to take us in a different direction and we're resisting it because we think we shouldn't, or we think we're a failure because we're not living into this death do us part thing, I think that that's a form of black magic. I think it's a form of violence. And so it's like to realize that we can not only survive but thrive beyond the transition, the changing form of a relationship, because that essential love, that essential grace that is the beloved, and like I say in one of my lyrics, one of my songs, the beloved arises in endless disguises. And it is the love that we feel inside of us that we are so attached to. And the opportunity exists for us to cultivate that love within ourselves. And even though that form out there has given us delight and pleases us, the feeling that we're feeling is here, is inside. And we don't have to lose our connection to that good feeling when that form is no longer there. Leah, what happens if sometimes you just don't like yourself very much? It's hard to be delighted with yourself sometimes. That is very true. Welcome, Juliana. Well, here's the thing. It's like this too shall pass. We, at this point, I would think everybody that is here, that is tuned in here, has been around for a while, and you can notice cycles, you can notice patterns, and you can notice how many times you've been in a bad mood and you've come out of it, and how many times you have something to suffer about or worry about, and then you come out of it. So if you know that, it's possible, I believe, to shorten the amount of time that you stay in that dark place. Now, everything is information. So even our so-called negative feelings that are painful, they have information for us. They're here to show us something. And if we can sit quietly and compassionately with that voice and just tune into it with an open heart and listen to it and hear what it has to say, it will likely share with you some statements misusing your I am power. Because it's like if you've ever checked out the Course in Miracles, the essential message there is that only the good is real. So anything negative that we may feel about ourselves is a story that we're telling ourselves that we haven't internalized, and it's not actually the truth. It's not actually the truth. So if you can notice that part, and you can be with that part, and you can have compassion for that part, just the same way that you would have for somebody else. If you were sitting with me and I were beating myself up about something, it's very likely that you would have a lot of beautiful words of comfort, because it would be very clear to you that the things that I'm saying about myself are not true. And so it's the ability to do that for ourselves, to be able to go, wow, I'm telling myself some really dark, disempowering things right now. Kind of masochistic. I'm hurting myself right now. And so the thing there is to stop and be with that and be like, wow, I'm really hurting myself. And this is the story that has been running in the background of my life. No wonder I've been having the experiences that I've been having. And then decide, okay, well, what is that thing that I'm telling myself right now? I am this. And in that moment, I mean, I often use a thesaurus, like on, Google. I will look for the antonyms for whatever the negative thing is that I'm feeling about myself, and I will search for the one that I resonate with, that I feel like I can authentically say that and not feel like I'm spiritually bypassing, because it's very important to give ourselves compassion for that negative self-talk. Compassion is the key to liberating ourselves from so much darkness that we bring upon ourselves. Forgive us, we know not what we do. Forgive us, we didn't know any better. Forgive us, we installed this definition of ourselves unconsciously, not understanding that it was going to create a self-fulfilling pattern that was going to keep playing out in our lives over and over and over again. Let's see, what have I missed here? Oh, it's jumping. Oops. Anyway, I'm missing. I understand. Oh no, that's past there. Okay, I can't catch up. It went too far past. But anyway, there seems to be plenty of you on here right now, and I'm very delighted about that. As you notice, I'm very, very dressed up. I had a completion ceremony earlier today, and we were invited to dress to express. And I thought, well, I don't do this very often, so I might as well stay like this, especially because it looks so fabulous against this background. So I'm having fun playing dress up right now, and so I want to invite any of you who wish to come on here to chat with me, because it's infinitely more fun if we dialogue than if I just sit here talking at you. And as I requested earlier, if you are open to sharing this live stream on your pages and or inviting others, and we can spread the vibe and spread the love. And our topic today is experiencing grace. That makes sense, yet being alone for so long does not help the negative self-image, or maybe someone else helped install it. Compassion. Oh, hi, Barbara. Compassion for ourselves especially, so vitally needed. I would come on if you would like. Of course I would like. Let's do it.
Hi, Tess.
Sounds like you're here. Hi.
Hello. And is that Barbara Lovejoy?
Isn't that
Uh-huh.
great?
Oh, it's fabulous. Hi, Barbara. So glad you got on. I was kind of helping
Yay.
her.
Thank you for
Ah,
helping her.
yeah.
Yay.
Well, this is a
Mm-hmm.
good deep topic just today because I was kind of having a regular, kind of mediocre day, nothing special happening. And then I just fell into this real funk of just like, why am I here? Why do I even care? I was eating too much. I had not one, but like two donuts. Like I've been eating double, stuff like that. That's always an indication to me that something's way the heck off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
just was walking around and looking in mirrors and like, feeling so heavy, not sexy, like all of these just bad, one thing after the next. And there are days like that, and I'll just sit in my car and I'll just walk around and look at flowers and just not do much of anything because I know once I get started, I sometimes I can break out of that, but it's harder. So I just, you know, didn't have much of a day.
I feel you. And I think
Yeah.
that's why I'm so kind of committed to being on the trail, and because I love words so much, of finding like the smallest little sound bite that I can hang on to have that be what I'm doing. Oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. What am I doing here? I'm delighting. I'm delighting.
I like that.
That's what I'm doing. That's it. That's all I'm doing. I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to figure out anything else. I'm delighting in the miracle of being, and I'm delighting by being. See,
I need to write that down.
it serves a
Yes,
dual
great.
purpose, right? And it's so simple. It's not involving any big mental kind of, oh, I have to remember that, this is my purpose and this is what I'm doing. It's like, no, I'm delighting. I'm just delighting, and that's all I'm doing. And then there's no suffering, and then there's not too much thought, and then it becomes kind of more mystical and childlike and playful and exciting, because then it's like, well, what's next? What's next? Okay, universe, show me. Show me what's next, because I trust you, because you brought me here. You
Yeah.
caused me to be here. So I'm just gonna play with you, and I'm gonna let you play with me, and then I don't have to like figure out so much stuff, you know?
I should listen to this tape like anytime I'm in this funk. Do you know what I mean?
Do, do.
Yeah. And then the other thing, you started this whole session today about time. And that was the other thing. I was just like, oh, another day. It's like 24 hours of this. You know, it sucks because I know it's a construct, but
It's totally a construct, and we're
yeah,
prisoners of it,
yeah,
and it is not, it's not serving us, because it's like it's ticking away, it's getting away from us, we're squandering it, we're wasting it. It's like we put so much
stress on ourselves instead of basking in it, instead of
Hmm.
luxuriating in it, because it's like each moment that we get to still be here is a miracle.
Right.
It's actually a miracle, but we're not in touch with the miracle.
Right.
We're in touch with the have to and the should
And running out of time, you
and
know.
running out and what we didn't do and regretting and guilty and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, as I say all the time, we are walking, talking, living, breathing miracles inside of a dimension that is a phenomenal miracle, all of it, every single bit of it. And we're suffering because we don't know what we really are, and we're not celebrating our connection and the very fact of our beingness, the very
Right.
fact of our beingness at all times, not just on our birthday. Right? At
Yeah,
all
yeah, that was
times.
the other thing. It's like after the ecstasy, the laundry, I had such a wonderful birthday. You were there, lots of wonderful friends and food. And then the next day was December nights, and it was all this Christmas stuff, and it was Balboa Park. And after that, I'm like, I guess I'm just Christmased out now. And it became like, oh, okay, back into the normal everyday routine of not delighting anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Right, right. Well, if you take like the expression, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Right.
And the way I interpret that is our activities are the same, but our mindset is completely different. Because when you're in the drudgery of the chopping wood and the carrying water, it's heavy, it's tedious, it's boring, it's repetitive. It's like, why am I stuck with this terrible job, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you're in the enlightened state, then, oh my God, I have hands and I'm touching these dishes and there's water running through this pipe. It's like if we were
Yeah.
on some kind of a plant medicine journey and everything becomes heightened and we're in the awe and the wonder of all of it. But I state that the value of those medicine journeys is to lay down that neural pathway that gives us those distinctions, not so when the medicine wears off, we go back to mundane reality. No, we get to cultivate those neural pathways. We get to go, you know what? I would rather live here in this more sort of grace-filled dream state
Mm-hmm.
than in that hard, dense, stay in your lane, kind of, get it done reality that it seems as though the majority of our brothers and sisters are operating in. Let me just read a couple things. Mindy says that's key. Trust the universe to show you the way. Robin, I'm going through the same thing. Constant mind training. It is, because it's like it's like the GPS thing. It's like if we make a wrong turn, the GPS doesn't beat us up. It doesn't beat
Right.
us up and call us a moron and you should have turned here and like spend the next 2 hours telling us what an idiot we are. All it says is recalculating. When possible, make a U-turn in a very neutral voice. And that's all we have to do. It's like we get off our track, get back on the track, get back on to being in awe and gratitude. And
Yeah, I
that's
like that.
the shift.
And what's
Yeah.
interesting is I'm doing this prosperity book. I don't know if I have it with me, but it was actually a book I picked up at the church where you sang, Tess, at the Vision Church. It was in the bookstore, and it's a prosperity book for like 45 days and all these wonderful exercises. And one of them was about what you put out, you're just getting more of that. And I've been working with another friend and doing these exercises every day. And I had this kind of two big bills that I have every month that I've got to pay, about
Hmm.
$1,000 if you add them both up. And I started thinking to myself, what's the ease and grace that I'd love to do to help pay these off? And it was to go back to doing feng shui and to find just the right client who will pay exactly what I charge. And within a day, I'm not kidding, someone contacted me to do a little piece of PR for them. And the more we
Okay.
talked, it was like, I really need a feng shui session. And I go, it's not cheap. And she goes, I don't really care. because I don't work from that place. I have money, so it's like what? So we're gonna go ahead and do a big fun feng shui session, and it's gonna take up about half of that bill.
Brilliant.
Isn't that great?
That's
Yeah. So
awesome.
it's and
Awesome.
it's great. Resurrect it
So
all, and
what
that's really
exactly were you
positive.
suffering about again? Where did you let your mind where did you let your mind go?
It was right. It was like you deep dive into the morass and you stay there a long time, and it's all. I mean, I love what you said about being compassionate with yourself and just coming back. You wouldn't say that to your best friend, you know. You would help counsel your
Yeah.
best friend, and so I need to. There's no need to be or stay in the high vibration, but the more you stay in what's fun, um, that's where the fun happens. But notice, I told her, I promised this future client, this friend of mine, I'll sit in front of my laptop and I'll send you the email about how much I charge and stuff. I'm still not doing it because I was in this kind of morass place today. So I need to do that by the end of the day or
Okay.
tomorrow.
And
And
let
really,
it be fun. Let it be fun. Bring it to where
I
it's
think
a
after this session, I'll just take out the laptop and do it.
awesome. Awesome. Yay. Yay. Well, Barbara
I don't want to take
says,
too much time. Yeah. What does Barbara
okay.
say?
Totally agreed, Tess. Life itself is a mysterious miracle. The awe and wonder, childlike innocence and playfulness. Freedom is what we can choose moment by moment. Yeah, yeah. And so,
Great.
like when I talk about the pace and what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Like, what does grace feel like? What
Yeah.
does grace feel
It's been a
like?
while.
Can you
Yeah. I
describe
mean,
what grace?
you've been helpful, really helpful in that, in slowing down. That's kind of one of your major mantras, is to really slow the
Mm-hmm.
heck down and really be
Yeah,
guided to spirit and asking what spirit wants from you, and or just to listen. And that's been really helpful, and also to know that I'm not separate. I'm not just here because I'm just taking up space and driving around and not doing much of anything, but that I am actually really a part of things. And I think the grace is just the knowing of that and not being too hard on
yeah,
myself either. So,
yes. Yeah, you got this.
well, yeah. And I'm hoping Barbara, because we're figuring out technology, that we can figure out a way that she can come on the show. I told her that that's
Is she on
definitely
her
possible.
phone? Is she?
She's on her computer. I'm going to work
Okay.
with
Oh,
her.
yeah. Okay. You
You can
can
only do
only
it off
come
the
on the
stuff.
phone. Yeah.
Okay. Next
Yes.
time then.
So that will happen another time. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on, Lee. I love
Bye.
you.
I really love you too. And thanks to everyone
Thank
for
you.
listening. Hope to see you all soon.
Absolutely. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Yay. That was fun. Yeah, it's funny because, I write down millions of things, and how many of them I will actually get around to doing and manifesting. My partner and I used to call ourselves title artists. We love coming up with titles of things, and so I wrote down this title the other day: "Go Slow: The Secret Path to Paradise." And I think I might write a book like that, or at least a blog or something like that. But yeah, it's so contrary to what we have been taught and trained to, like accomplishment and production and productivity, and it's like our peace comes from our ability to quiet our internal systems, our nervous system, our endocrine system. It's like to create peace in the body, to function at the pace of grace, I believe is where our awakening lies, where our liberation lies, because when we are connected to ourselves, and when we're connected to ourselves, we are connected to existence. We understand that we are a part of the whole. We can no longer be coerced or intimidated or pushed around anymore. When we know that we are one with the infinite supply and the animator that breathed life into us, and that is the source of our sustenance, there is no boogeyman out there that can scare us. and can cause us to feel unsafe. So this is, again, an invitation and an opportunity to choose, like, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel on a daily basis as you move through your life? And you get to choose. Now, it's possible that when you were a child, you were in an environment where you didn't feel like you had any control, and so you learned a way of interfacing with existence that is perpetuating until this day. However, if you give yourself permission to slow down and to stop and to get in your own energy where you're not being influenced by anyone else, and you can reconnect to the pace of grace, whatever that means, whatever that feels like in your body, to where you feel good. And I'll say you feel sensual, because we are every we have skin, we have nerve endings, we have hands, we have fingers, everything, the caress of the breeze, the clothing that we choose to wear, the way our clothes and our bedding feel against our skin, everything is an opportunity for pleasure. Everything is an opportunity for us to be connected to the thrill of the privilege of getting to be here incarnated in a body with these senses. And if we're not allowing ourselves to experience the pleasure that is available to us, we got nobody to blame for that but ourselves. It's right here. And you can judge yourself, like the ego mind can be telling you that you are indulgent, or that you are spoiled, or whatever it wants to say. But Byron Katie it and ask yourself, is it true? Is it true? If I have a choice to struggle through life and to push through life, and everything is hard, and everything is rushed, and everything is unpleasant, and everything is heavy, or I have a choice to interface with this plane in a gentle way, in a delicate way, in a delightful way, why would I not choose that? How are we doing out there? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings about grace? What does it mean to you? I would love to hear. I would love to hear. I'd love somebody new who has never come on and talked with me before to come on. That would be delightful. We are delighting. That's what we're doing here. We're delighting ourselves. We're delighting one another. We're delighting in the miracle and pleasure and privilege of getting to be in bodies. I would love you to come up, Barbara, only you cannot do it from your laptop. You can only do it from your phone. If you have installed Facebook on your phone, you should be able to get on, but otherwise you can't do it from a laptop, unfortunately. So hi, Gio, welcome. So we are in week 19, and very proud of that and excited about it, and plan to just keep on going. Someday then for sure, absolutely. Hello all, greetings from Scottsdale. I just tuned in. So good to join all. Good to have you here. Yes. So, do you have any thoughts on this matter, dear Gio? Experiencing grace. I'm really loving the sense of community and camaraderie that I feel witnessing the comments in the chat and how you all support one another. It's really heartwarming, and yay for that. So what is alive? What is alive? What are you feeling? It could be on the stated subject, and it could be whatever is on your heart right now that could benefit from being expressed out into the field and allowing us to see what we can come up about it. I started writing a song. It's not finished yet. It goes, grace, 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 grace. Every thought, every sound, every step upon the ground is grace, 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 grace. Every smell, every taste, everything in time and space is grace, 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 grace. That's all I have so far. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so blessed. I love writing songs. I feel so fortunate to get to play with words and tones the way I do. I have some thoughts on grace and feelings. Well, come on down, Gio Pensano. This is your life. Hey.
Hey, Tess, man, you make me laugh.
I
You make me
do.
laugh.
On purpose or by accident?
I would say by accident for sure. So
What
yeah,
are
I
you?
just came on. Am I getting on towards the end of the show?
I don't know. What time is it? It's 10 to 6. No, we've only been on for 50 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'm in a different time zone now, so my clock is almost 7. So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yeah, in the
Cool.
summertime in Arizona, we're on the same time zone as you all, but then something shifts, yeah, with the time change.
Yeah, that happened when I was in Mexico. The time
Yes.
changed in the States, and we went from being at the same time to not being at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Which
yeah,
yeah.
two different thoughts. I love the topic of grace. That one is such a mysterious topic, and it seems almost like it's hard to put into words. And certainly seems like this thing that is it seems mostly out of our control, is what I might say about it.
Can you say
But I
more?
do.
Like, what does it mean to you? What is it? What do you define
Well,
it
to me,
as?
grace is to me what it means to me is it's when things happen that are kind of inexplicable. Like I have a friend of mine here um, here in Phoenix who I hadn't seen for a little time, and I had wanted to get together with him. He's super busy. He's got a family, and he's a coach himself as well. And but I saw him post something at the end of last week about a speaker event that he was going to in Phoenix on Saturday. And so I was like, oh well, it looks like a great opportunity to to spend a little time with him and maybe
Mm-hmm.
get some inspiration as well. So so I went, and it was not something that I would normally like choose to go to, like, oh, I'm going to go to this. It wasn't that kind of an event, it wasn't something specifically, something that I needed to go to, but I wanted to
Oh, we
hang out
got
with my friend.
my friend Mindy is in Scottsdale right now too, she's saying.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I went to the event, and I'm kind of listening into the speakers, and it was turns out it was kind of it was underneath the whole thing. It was a training, so it was a group of people that were training to getting their training, and then this was the event where they get to you know show what they had learned and use it as an opportunity for them to get their message out and to ideally, I would think, enroll clients. So some of them were, were better than others. But it was so great to spend time with my friend. And then there was a few people that super inspired me. And one of them was this woman who had come from Venice. And she had this very unusual kind of hand mudra, things that she was doing. And I'm familiar, with the Indian classical, different mudras. And I have a friend of mine that's a classical Indian dancer, but this gal, she's doing these things that I'd never really seen before. And I'm like, I got to talk to this person. So I go to talk to her, and she, I try to keep the story somewhat short, but she had this somewhat kind of a fascination with the Proctor Gallagher Institute, which is located here in Scottsdale. And I have another friend who is in Toronto who has been doing some speaking for the Napoleon Hill Institute. And I said to him, I was like, well, would you like to speak for the Proctor Gallagher Institute? And he's like, yeah, if a chance came up. So this gal from Italy, and this kind of meeting of this potential connection for my friend, I was like, hey, let's do a pilgrimage. Let's go on over there. And plus I had been a little bit curious about what is the story behind Bob Proctor. I don't know if you're familiar or the audience is familiar, but all of a sudden one day it was like, Bob Proctor is no longer. And that
Really?
was basically mostly all that's basically all we had really heard. They didn't say that he had died specifically, as far as I know. They basically just said, he's no longer. And so anyways,
Those actual words, he's no longer. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we decided, and I said, hey, let's do a pilgrimage. Let's go over to the Proctor Gallagher Institute, and let's see if we could talk to Bob Proctor. Let's see if Bob Proctor is there, because who knows, he could be.
He's being held
really
hostage in his own institute, right?
Or he's just decided to go off, to not be a public figure anymore. I mean, that's a huge responsibility when you're, the head of an organization that does, events all over the world. And my gosh, Bob Proctor is I think 85, 90 years old now, and so he's disappeared. Anyway, so long story short, we show up at the Institute, we find it, it's online, you can find it. And we show up, we find the location, and in my way that I do things, we'll meet the first person that we meet, which is actually kind of the only person that was there. And I said, hey, we're on a pilgrimage, and we'd like to speak to Bob Proctor. And
so
the gal was super kind and nice, not like, a receptionist sometimes can be. She was like, oh, well, we're so glad that you came. And and we're chit-chatting about this and that, and, where we'd come from. And my friend had come from Venice, and she's like, man, it's a long ways to come. And then finally I said, well, what's the story with Bob Proctor? He just the last we heard, he just was no longer, and we didn't get any details like he had passed away or anything. And the gal said, well, this is our administrative office, and I'm the only person here. Sandy Gallagher is his business partner, and she carries on, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Well, is Sandy Gallagher around? And she's like, nope. She does events all over the world, and she has homes all over the world, and this is just the administrative office. And I'm like, well, okay, it's interesting, but what about Bob Proctor? And
you still didn't get a straight answer, right?
We did not. We didn't get an evasive answer. She had a beautiful way of kind of presenting it. She wasn't defensive or anyways, so she, talk about grace. She had nothing to defend or to advocate either. She just said, all we've been told is, he's no longer available.
Wow, that's really mysterious.
It is mysterious. So I published on Facebook today to hear, he's touched the lives of millions of people. Millions of people.
And there's
And
no like Google, like Wikipedia, nothing.
if anybody on this audience knows anything or finds anything, you let me know. we're going to
Wow.
continue to unravel the story. And so with my friend and I, we were basically satisfied. We're like, okay, we got pictures, and the gal was super glad that we showed up, because she basically, she was the accountant for the organization, and she was the only person there. And she had great energy and all, but she's the only person there, so she was happy to have visitors.
Wow. Well, maybe he has been, taken up to the Galactic Federation or something, and he's just been beamed up to a spaceship. We don't know. We don't know.
Like I said, if anybody on this broadcast knows, or anybody knows somebody that knows somebody, let them, touch base with you or touch base with me. I'm going to continue on to unravel the story. But my
Okay.
friend, she said something along the lines of, in a certain way, it doesn't really matter, because his spirit is still present no matter what.
Influencing. He's still influencing.
His presence is still influencing, and I believe his presence is still present.
That's a trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that feels like grace.
That is grace. That is grace.
Yeah.
And then one of my friends from California, oddly enough, when I posted this thing and this picture with my friend Franca Borgia is her name, from Venice, a little while later, she goes, "Oh, Franca, I love Franca. She's so awesome." And I'm like, "How do you know Franca?" And my friend does a health and wellness broadcast in Orange County, and I guess she had interviewed her or talked about her being a guest on her show or whatever. But I was like, wow, what a small world that is.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could say that it is the awareness of the mystical would be a way to describe grace, right? Like the
Yeah.
mystical
Yeah.
aspects of existence. Yeah.
I would say it actually is the mystical.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
actually
Mm-hmm.
it actually is, and I
Mm-hmm.
recognize it as a feminine quality,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not something that you can force in any way.
Mm-hmm. It's
I think you
soft.
can,
It's like
yeah, you can call it. I think you can call it in. But I had a experience with a shaman once, and we were talking a little bit about this topic, and he was sharing with me something similar along these lines, and he was sharing an experience of grace where it got kind of ignited in one moment, but then it didn't come till like 10 years later.
Do
Like
you think it's ever not present?
I think that it is always present, because I do believe, like, it is presence. I tend to relate to it that it is a mystery, in that it comes unto its own, in its own time, in its own way. And I don't think it has anything to do with feelings myself. So, I heard you talking about the feelings a little bit. I don't think it's related to a feeling thing.
Well,
I
for
I
me, I think how I meant it was more in terms of awareness. It's like
mhm.
where are we attuned to? Like we can be attuned to mundane reality, and we're missing the grace that is inherently there. But if we attune ourselves to the grace, then we can actually experience it as the field
Mhm.
in which we exist. And when we experience it like that, then we become an easier match for more obvious interpretations of it to come to us. I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say inherently that that you have more to teach about this than I do. I mean, I'm sharing, my experience, and I know everybody does, but I do concur with what you just said and other things that you've said, that if it comes at all, like if grace comes at all, it comes from I guess listening, stepping back, getting quiet. I think you were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah,
I know
so I would suggest that it's always here. It is. It's like all of life is an expression of grace, and our own existence is an expression of grace. We're not necessarily in touch with it, and so we miss the visceral experience of it. But that all it requires is for us to realize it, or somebody point it out to us, and we can totally redirect ourselves so that we can be one with it. And when we're one with it, we're just in the field of receptivity for what we would then describe as miracles,
yeah,
because now there's no oblivious. When we're oblivious, it kind of has to hit us over the head. But if
yes,
we're present to it, then it's much easier for us to just be in a state where that's all we're experiencing. Just the fact that we exist is grace, you know. But we
true.
take that for granted for the most part.
Yeah,
So
true.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a mystery.
yeah. It
It's
is.
a
It's a
mystery.
beautiful mystery. Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we'll continue teaching and talking.
Thank you, hon.
All right.
All
Bye
right.
now.
Blessings to you. Bye bye.
You too.
Okay. I see Bella Grace is in the house. Welcome, Bella. We're talking about you. We're talking about experiencing grace and what that is, what that means, what it feels like. And I am open to anyone who wishes to come on and chat with me. And again, if you are so kind as to share this live on your pages, in your groups, tag people so we can spread this grace-filled vibe. Because I believe that if more of us were in touch with the grace that our existence actually is, we would be suffering far less, we would be worrying far less, and we would be experiencing the miracles of existence a whole lot more. As it has been said, it is our resistance to what is that causes us pain. Our belief that things are supposed to be different than how they are, and that we somehow have to fix it and push it into existence instead of surrendering and allowing. Okay, we're making a Scottsdale connection here. Very cool, very cool. So let's see if I have something I can sing for you. Shining star, there you are, so near and far, gleaming bright amidst all the darkness. Though you never may know your own true glow, here I stay for a ray of your light. When we met on a bet, I knew not yet the depth of the love I'd find here. You entered my soul and made me whole. Now I live for a ray of your light. Who could have guessed you'd pale the rest? What sort of test is this? I look at you, God gleaming through. You take me to such bliss. Ray of light, fill my night with your sweet sight. Your magical glimmer has claimed me. So I'll say it clear and pray that you hear what I'd give for a ray of your light. That's called Ray of Your Light. I hope you like. I'm delighting. I'm delighting in being here with you. I'm delighting in getting to be here in a body, experiencing all there is to experience with the pleasure and the miracle of my senses. And hopefully I am delighting to you as well as I give myself permission to shine my light. Geo, hi Leah. There was a Feng Shui speaker practitioner at the event on Saturday and made me think of you, Mindy. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So what else, you guys? What else? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you dreaming of? What are you longing for? What would be supportive to you? What would be supportive to you? What would feel really good? How about we just be in presence, experiencing grace? This is it, you guys. When we say, I need a miracle, I need a miracle, we are in those moments not realizing that every instant of our existence is a miracle. And we are the miracles. Know thyself. There is nothing else to seek. all our power, all our freedom is always available to us in the here and now if we just slow ourselves down and calm ourselves down in order to receive it. When we're caught up in time, we feel obliged to push the river because we're aware of something down the road that we perceive needing our attention, needing us to address it, fix it somehow. And we believe that it is our responsibility to get it done. And in our belief, especially if we don't know how we're going to get it done, we create a lot of stress for ourselves. And grace is always present, and it can't really flow to us with as much ease if we are constricted and contracted and blocking it, because then we're missing it. We're not seeing it. But if we can allow ourselves to relax, march to the beat of our own drum, not feel obliged to function at a pace that has nothing to do with the rate of our pulse, our breath, our heartbeat at rest. So far, Barbara, I'm not experiencing screen freezing, but maybe others are. It may have something to do with your signal, where you are, how good a reception you have. I thought I saw Carol here. Carol, are you still here? I'd love for you to come on and chat with me if you feel to. Grace is looking at life through grateful eyes. Awe-filled eyes. A-W-E, awe-filled. As opposed to jaded, cynical, hurt ones. And it does require a vigilant intention to redirect and shift our own perception. And that's why I like to call this spiritual logic, because it's not some like woo-woo. It's grounded in practices where you take it into your own hands to question your beliefs and notice the ones that cause you to feel bad and decide to recreate them so that you are living in a relationship with life, with existence that feels divine to you, that feels sacred, that feels like an honor and a privilege that you get to be here. You get to be here. Barbara, for the past 10 minutes or so, mine has been totally frozen here, even after refreshing it. So I'm signing off for now. Thank you, Tess and all. My takeaway is living at the speed of grace. If if you want to make it rhyme, say the pace of grace. The pace of grace. Yeah. Whatever that feels like to you in your body, in your sense of yourself and life itself as sacred, as holy, as miraculous, as a privilege. We could celebrate. We could be happy. We could be giddy. We could be childlike. We could be playful. We could be silly. We could be loud and boisterous and outrageous. We could be all those things. And I also believe that inherent in that needs to be a certain amount of humbleness and humility in our gratitude. If we want our experience to go smoothly, if we want to smooth out the bumps so we're not banging around so hard and getting so hurt, it behooves us to move into gratitude, to move into humility, to have a humbleness about ourselves, because if we're arrogant and we're cocky and we're entitled and we rail at existence, it's adversarial and it is not going to yield us the results that we want, because existence is going to win every time. Frozen solid but sending warmth with grace. Thanks, Rebecca. Interesting. I wonder why that's happening. It's not my experience. Usually it would be my experience too. Well, you could probably pop out and pop back in and maybe you would have a different experience, but I also thank you for the time you feel inspired to be tuned in here, and I release you with love until the next time we connect again. So there's that. But I intend to stay till 7, so that's about another 40 minutes or so. So hopefully we will have a better connection. See, here is a perfect example. Experiencing grace. I can choose to get frustrated, and I can choose to feel like there's something wrong and put upon, and why is this happening, and why is this my experience, or why is this my viewer's experience, and I could be shouting no at existence and only compounding the frustration. But if I surrender to what is, and I accept, and I trust, and I allow, then things move through, and we just take them in stride, and we just keep going. It's like there's a little Osho ditty that goes, we are sailing on a journey to nowhere, taking it easy, taking it slow. No need to hurry, not even a worry, nothing to carry. Let it all go. Let it all go. Let it all move through. Let it all keep flowing. Let it all keep flowing like a river. Ride the waves. Be on the divine magic carpet ride. Experience flow. That's grace. That's grace. There's no mama in the world who could force her pregnancy to move more quickly than the pace of grace. So learning to trust the intelligence of our animator, the animator of all that is, and this field, this magical, mystical field in which we get to exist, and not feeling like, not trusting that things aren't happening. Everything is happening. Everything is always happening, all at once. And it's all unfolding at its divine, perfect pace for us. And what we get to modulate is what that interface feels like based on whether we feel obliged to rush and confront or allow. Mindy, I have to go. Love seeing you. Trust, grace, surrender, and the higher power. Infinite blessings to you, Mindy. It's all happening, baby. It's all happening. Mm-hmm. Let's see. What does my great songbook want to offer you in this now? Look how heavy this thing is. Oh, did you ever see this? This is me. And this is me. Different moments of my journey. Mm. Mm. Hmm. I think maybe I'm not feeling a song right now. I'm feeling more like just being here with you. In the peace and the miracle and the blessing of this divine now. One holy instant in the divine mystery. What a different experience we would be having if we remained connected to our sense of awe and wonder at the miraculousness of our existence. How would we treat ourselves? How would we treat one another? What exactly would we be worried about? When you understand how miraculous you are, you understand how miraculous All is. And then there's no one to hurt. There's no one to take from. There's no one to disrespect. Because then you recognize all life as sacred. All in existence as sacred. And you take nothing for granted. No one and no thing. As long as we're still here, in our bodies, with our minds, with our eyes, with our hearts, we have the ability to shift our experience and the experience of all that is simply by redirecting our focus and looking through divine eyes, grateful eyes, humble eyes. Oh, here's a song. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am and all I do is a blessing to the world. You're a blessing, we're a blessing, I'm a blessing to the world. Can we know this? Can we really feel it and know it? Not just conceptually, but a real visceral experience of ourselves and each other and all that is as miraculous. Then everything is grace. Thank you, Gio. That chant actually comes from Unity Church. I had been invited to sing at one in Miami some years ago, and they did that there, and I loved it. It was really nice. I believe that we can slow down, maybe even reverse aging and decline by treating ourselves with more honor and patience and gentleness and reverence. It's punishing on our bodies and our psyches to push ourselves so hard. And sure, I mean, adrenaline junkies get some rush from doing that, and ultimately it takes a toll. I don't know a single self-described workaholic overachiever that doesn't burn out. So the cost may be too high to try to accelerate our unfolding instead of moving at the pace of grace and getting out of that time-bound mind and allowing things to just come into being, be birthed in more organic ways. So if I can support you in finding the peace inside you and plugging into that sense of grace that is the truth of your existence, that would be a great honor and pleasure for me. Anyone else here that wishes to chat about anything? I am open to topics. Gio, I believe that a person can be in high performance with great responsibility and also be in grace. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. I'm just interested in the line between grace and mania. If one is functioning at a high performance rate, can they do that in a sustained way, or might they be slipping into some form of mania that they then have to pay for later? So it's tricky, you know, self-regulating and knowing ourselves in such a way. I mean, I know the guy who used to do 3 or 4 big weekends a year at a hotel in Los Angeles for, it was called CEO Space, and it was for entrepreneurs, you know, pretty high MBA level entrepreneurs and inventors and stuff. And he would run these amazing weekends that, and just on adrenaline, and then every single time he would end up in the hospital with pneumonia. So that was his like high performance, his high performance team. And so I'm super sensitive to that kind of rah like leading into a wall, and I'm sensitive to it with myself, that I'm, not misleading people and taking them places that ultimately are not healthy to go to. Taj, welcome. How sweet. We are discussing experiencing grace, and you are one who embodies that. So if you feel like coming on and chatting with me, I would be delighted to have you. If you're open to that, just let me know. It'd be nice to chat with you. I met this person. We were both going to the same workshop in Cabo, and it turned out we were on the same flight. And so we shared a cab, and it was really lovely experience to be the alchemy of souls that existence decided to put together, and how mutually beneficial it was for us to connect. So I'm excited to see you here. Yay! Yay, yay, yay. Part of the experience of grace is making peace with the unknown, becoming comfortable with not knowing and trusting whatever is coming next. That sounds like grace. I hope they can come on to say more. Yes, Taj, would you join me? Would you join me on here? Oh, you. Oops. I'm not pulling it up. So I don't know if Taj is on a computer or on a cell phone, but in order to come on and chat, it would have to be a cell phone. And your name isn't coming up, so I can't send you an invitation, but you might be able to initiate it. Anyway, yeah, it really was a lot of grace in our connection. So sweet. Yeah, yeah. So I am going to be live streaming next Tuesday and the following from Austin, Texas. And I'll be arriving in the afternoon, getting into my Airbnb an hour before the live stream starts, just enough time for me to get myself set up. It is a different time zone there, so it's 5 to 7 here, and it'll be 7 to 9 in Austin. So that'll be interesting, and I think I will have some of the sisters, the women who have gone through this 9-month training with me on radical self-expression, which is what actually got me to birth this weekly live stream. And we just had our final call this morning after 9 months of meeting every week. And then next Tuesday, we are all flying to Austin, and we'll be there together to complete our experience in a live container. So very much looking forward to that. And while I'm there, I was invited to attend another workshop, so I'll be doing that, and then spending a couple of days just looking around, just because why not? You can't just go someplace and do the training. You gotta, well, you can, but it's not as much fun as getting to see where you're at. So that's happening next week, and I feel very grateful for everything that I learned in this radical self-expression. Share more on what is that. Well, here's the thing. We all are so much more than our conditioning and our programming may have allowed us to give ourselves permission to be. And there have been so many ways in which we have been silenced, shut down, asked to be smaller, to be less than what we are. And many of us internalized those reflections to varying degrees. And I was guided into this container from an experience that I had. I've probably spoken about it before, back in February, where I was called to court to be a character witness for someone. And I, on the spectrum of expressors, I'm a pretty outspoken person, in comparatively speaking. However, under those very oppressive patriarchal circumstances, I found myself intimidated into submission to where I did not feel that I actually fulfilled my purpose for being there, which was to share what I knew of this man who was the defendant, and hope for a different outcome in the way that his case was going. And the circumstances shut me down so much that I went into good girl mode, and I did not allow myself to break the rules of the container of the courtroom for fear of being admonished by the judge, and seen too many courtroom dramas, in which case things are stricken from the records, and all this. And so what I needed to do was to go, can I speak? Because I wouldn't have driven all the way here from San Diego to testify if I thought for 1 second this man was guilty of what he is being accused of. And instead, both the prosecution and the defense asked me some really lame, narrow questions that I was only allowed to give yes or no answers to. I was on the stand for about 4 minutes, and then they both said no further questions. We rest our case, and I was sent out of the courtroom, and they dismissed. They turned the case over to the jury, and ultimately my friend was convicted. And I was so devastated, and it was in that moment of time that Isabella Braveheart, who was the leader of this program, was offering a 10-day challenge called Truth Be Told, Truth Be Bold, Radical Self-Expression. And I actually hopped into it 2 days after it started, but I was like, I never want, as long as I live, again to be in a situation where I don't give myself permission to speak when there's a moment to speak and a moment to be silent, and that was a moment to speak, and I didn't take it. And I thought, wow, if somebody like me could be so intimidated in a circumstance like that, we have some pretty oppressive conditioning in our society. And so I dove into this training in order to remove whatever filters, blocks that I had subconsciously put in place to censor myself in any way. And so we had some pretty intense assignments of addressing things with people, uncomfortable conversations that we may have preferred to avoid, but gained a lot of empowerment through doing. Really assessing and examining relationships, and how many of them that we hold on to because we don't want to hurt people's feelings, and these relationships are not really feeding us and serving us and helping us to grow and expand. And so having those hard conversations and letting people go, and then like giving self permission to like step up into a role like this, getting past the who am I to, and whatever fears, insecurities, paranoias may prevent one from shining their light, because they don't want to be too big and they don't want to be judged and they don't want to be criticized or talked about or picked apart, and so it's like so much healing has been happening over these 9 months to decide to completely love myself and to be completely worthy, and to move past any negative self-talk that would cause me to choose to play small or hide. And it's been incredible. I said today on the call that I had a different idea of what these 9 months were going to be, and I thought that we were going to be, identifying a project and like a birth, taking these 9 months in order to deliver it into the world. But instead, she was kind of calling us out to be delivering things along the way. And so I haven't come away from it, other than this, because I feel like this is just the beginning of a much bigger, grander, more substantial offering. But I didn't necessarily come away from it with a amazing extravaganza experience that is like where I'm utilizing every bit of myself. Although I feel like I am here, but it's just a little more contained. But what I did come away from it with is my unapologetic self, and the sense that I can show up anywhere at any time with anyone and be on equal footing with them, and that we are all that. And I feel incredibly grateful to have gone through this experience. And so very empowering and inspiring, very inspiring. Yeah. And to do it in a container with other people where we're supporting each other and we're watching each other evolve and blossom. So it's been a very, very rich journey. And I'm also grateful that it's complete, because I had a phenomenal amount of homework, and with some of the other things I've taken on, I definitely feel like I spread myself too thin, and I was really working a lot, like really hard, a lot every day. And so as I come away from it and I recalibrate myself, knowing and trusting that I am always being the fully expressed version of me, whether I'm on the court, off the court, on stage, off stage, that who I'm being is consistent and someone that I feel good about, then I can allow more and more grace and more space in my experience, trusting that my medicine, what I'm here to offer and share in the world, is of a different frequency than me trying to fit into a mold that would cause me to abandon this connection with grace, if that makes sense. So thank you for asking those questions. Yeah. Yeah. Very happy to be here with you. I really value this time. That is inspiring. Keep friggin' going. I'm going, baby. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. It's like it feels like all the self-effacing, um, false modesty, insecurity, self-consciousness, all of that has evaporated, and I'm just free to show up and shine my light, and trust the how and the where, and knowing that it will be gracious and inspiring, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm actually the most excited that I have been in a very long time, and maybe ever. So yeah, it's super good. Mm-hmm. Yay, yay, yay. So we have about, just a few minutes left, like 3.5 minutes left. If there's anybody out there that wants to pop on and say hi, I would welcome you. And we can close out this episode together. We'll be back next week for episode 20. And not sure yet what the topic will be, but either it will come to me, or we will simply bask in the presence of the moment and allow whatever wants to unfold to unfold. It's all good. As Abraham Hicks says, you can't get it wrong and you'll never get it done. So I thank you all for showing up, and I thank you for hanging in here with me, and I thank you for sharing this live stream. You can do it after as well, and if you have any testimonials that you can add to your share to encourage your people to come on and tune in the future, that would be beautiful. And as Carol Burnett would sing, I'm so glad we had this time together, just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just get started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. So good. Big hugs. Thank you for your support and your cheer. I feel it. I feel grateful. Yes. And as I started with this new song I'm working on, it's not finished yet, but we can. Grace, 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 every thought, every sound, every step upon the ground is grace, 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 every smell, every taste, everything in time and space is grace, 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 grace. Grace, 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 every thought, every sound, every step upon the ground is grace, 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 every smell, every taste, everything in time and space is grace, 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 grace. Indeed it is, everything is grace. And so the opportunity to experience grace is everywhere, all around us at all times. And the more we attune to it, the more we will experience it. And the easier and more in flow our experience will become. I promise you that. That is my experience. It doesn't cost anything. and you have the power, like on in the Wizard of Oz. You have had the power all along. So, yeah, this is an opportunity for you to empower yourself and enter a permanent state of grace. See you next week. Namaste.